Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will begin our program in just a few minutes. Barry, we're ready.
Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to our Voices from Israel series, today featuring Sofie, Berzon, MacKie from Kibbutz Be'eri. My name is Rabbi Barry Cohen, and I'm the Jewish Community Chaplain at the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland. The last 10 weeks have been so challenging for all of us, and especially for our brothers and sisters in Israel, who have been so traumatized since the horrific Hamas attacks in Israel. Here is but some of the work that the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland has done in support of Israel at this time. On October 9th, we held a solidarity gathering at Congregation Neve Shalom, where 1,200 community members gathered us in person, and another 1,800 streamed the gathering. We've had 2 webinars since then, one with an IDF spokesperson and a survivor of the Nova Music Festival, and with Herb Keenan, a journalist from the Jerusalem Post. We will have these weekly Wednesday Israel-focused webinars through at least mid-January, and you can check our website for details. Late November, we held a vigil for the hostages. We are so relieved that 105 hostages to date have been released, and we're hopeful for more to be released in the coming days. Our Israel Emergency Campaign raised over $2 million, funds going directly to Israel for rebuilding and for trauma care. We've also been working with our local Israel community to make sure that those who have family members in Gaza are sharing those stories with the media and that they remain in the public eye. We're working hard to ensure that our Jewish students in public and private schools and university campuses are feeling safe. We are doing our best to counter anti-Semitism that has been spiking since the October 7th attack. Also, we're encouraging everyone to make calls to your members of Congress. They need to hear from us. They need to know that we expect and urge them to remain steadfast with their support for Israel. I can assure you that they're hearing from the other side, and we need to make sure that that our support stays strong. Finally, we've created a hub of all things related to Israel and the war for you to follow up with, and you can find that on our website, which will be shared in the chat. While this presentation is happening, the chat has been disabled, but please use the Q&A at the bottom to submit questions. This session is being recorded and will be available on our website. I'd now like to introduce our speaker for today, Sofie Berzon MacKie. She is a British-Israeli curator and visual artist based in Israel and director of the Be'eri Gallery for Contemporary Art. She immigrated to Israel from London in 1990. She works mostly with photographic and lens-based material, but enjoys embarking on all sorts of adventures in various mediums. Her work is tightly connected to her life and biography, and over the years has evolved around themes of identity, immigration, nature versus culture, hybridity, and feminist discourse concerning motherhood. She works as a curator and has the honor of working closely with selected artists on long-term projects towards establishing a full body of work, producing artist books, and building solo exhibitions. She is also a photo voice moderator, a visual research methodology with the intention to foster social change. She is a graduate of the Mandel program for cultural leadership in the Negev, a highly regarded year-long scholarship program that strives to nurture outstanding leaders who will work to promote a discourse of learning and action in the field of art and culture. In addition, Sofie is the mother of 3 amazing children to whom she says, "I owe all that I am." Sofie, thank you again for being with us today and for sharing your valuable perspective and your insight.
Thank you, Barry. Wow, so good morning. Can everybody, you can hear me, can you? Nobody has their camera on, so I'm talking to blank black faces. Can you turn your cameras on so I can see you?
They can't, it's a webinar.
Oh, okay. So I'll be talking to myself. Okay, so hello, my name is I'm Sofie. I'm 39 years old. As Barry introduced me, I am British Israeli. I immigrated to Israel in late 1990, and we immigrated straight to Kibbutz Be'eri, where I have spent most of my life up until 2 months ago. I made a presentation, so I think I will share it with you, and then we can just take it from there. Just 1 second. Okay. So this is me and my family. I think it was 1997. We are in our family home in Islington, in number 2 Cumberland Gardens, and this is kind of an iconic image of my life and at least half of my identity up until that point. So we immigrated in 1990, and my mother passed away 2 months later from a form of very aggressive cancer, blood cancer. And only a week after that, I found myself looking like this, with a gas mask. a 7-year-old child. I just lost my mother, and with the sirens of the Gulf War. So that is how I met Israel. It was a very, I think, traumatic experience, and I've been working through that, I think, throughout my whole life. And a lot of it also has a lot to do with my art, just as Barry just said. So we came to Kibbutz Be'eri. Be'eri is a small, fairly tight-knit community, almost 5 kilometers from the border with Gaza. We have 350 families. This is what it looked like up until fairly recently. 350 families, a lot of children. We have a collective model of running our finances, and we have a dining room, and the kindergartens are on the kibbutz, and everybody knows everybody. People have their careers, of course, but we love each other. I can say that, and that will be true. So Be'eri was founded in 1946, straight after Yom Kippur, and on the 7th of October, we were actually supposed to celebrate our 77th birthday, which didn't happen eventually. So it is a very peaceful, beautiful part of land, and very peace and loving people. And but it's not always like that, because we live in a rough neighborhood, and that comes with a price. There is a price to pay for that. So I would like to share a small video my sister filmed. She filmed it, I think, 3 years ago. And this is what the kibbutz can be, living next to Gaza. So she's saying, what are these things? She's walking with a friend. Gosh, what is that? So this is the new neighborhood in the kibbutz, and it's on the west side and the closest to Gaza. My sister says, can you hear the siren? You can hear the rockets incoming. She says, I can't believe it. Rockets exploding. She's saying, I can't believe it. Where is it coming from? She's saying. Behind that field lies the Gaza Strip. That is the Iron Dome, the little cloud. These are incoming rockets to Israel. She's saying, I can't believe it. What is that? She's asking, what is this cat doing here? Okay, so for me at least, this video is really just sort of the essence of what it means to live on the kibbutz. On one hand, it's the most beautiful place with open fields and beautiful sunsets and so peaceful. And on the other hand, everything can kind of, you can wake up in the morning and everything, all hell breaks loose. So, sorry. I have been working as an artist on this project. I've been photographing in my living room for the past 3 years on a body of work that I named Silvery Water and Starry Earth. And I actually won just very recently Photographer of the Year at Julia Margaret Cameron Awards for women photographers. And the series, I've been photographing just really my sofa and the window and my children and my life ever since I gave birth to my youngest daughter, who just recently turned 3. And I have these animals. I work with the digital collages that are part of my work and have been part of my work for a very long time. So I was photographing my home, never thinking that it's going to be a temporary thing in my life. And this picture I took at my home in Be'eri on the 1st of October, 2023. And a week later, I go to bed. It's Friday night. It was still Sukkot, so we had dinner together, and then we went to play tennis together, the whole family. My sisters live with me on the kibbutz with their families, and my brother lives on a kibbutz nearby called Dorot. It's 12 to 20 minutes from Be'eri. And we wake up at 6:30 in the morning with the most ear-deafening explosions one can imagine. And I jump out of bed. I got really scared, and I wake up my eldest daughter. She's 12 and a half, and I really just shouted at her to run to the safe room. We have a safe room in our house that was designed against rockets, of course, not against anything else. So she ran there, and I grabbed my toddler. She sleeps in a room nearby, and we ran to the safe room. And the outcome of that day was this, which is the neighborhood that we just looked at in the video, which I'm not going to replay, but that is the same place, completely destroyed. And I think I would like to walk you through what happened that day from my point of view, through my WhatsApp messages. And I can't see you, but you are the first people I ever showed it to. So there is a content warning. It's not easy, so anyone who feels like they can't deal with it's not graphic in any way. It's just, I think, very hard to hear. Okay, so this is the group, the WhatsApp group of the mothers of the kibbutz, and at 7:10, the first message is, God help us. Does somebody have an update? And 3 minutes later, who is in the quick response team? The quick response team is the 11 or 12 members of the kibbutz that they have like basic like military training, and they're supposed to be able to hold the kibbutz against whatever happens for 7 to 10 minutes. That's their mission, and that's their capability, is to hold the situation for just a short while until the army arrives. So my brother-in-law is the commander of the quick response team, and he was badly injured that day. He was shot, and he almost bled to death until he was rescued at 6 o'clock in the evening. And at 7:13, we received the first message of a mother from the kibbutz writing that there is a terrorist on her stairs. Call someone. So at that point, already we got an official message in the internal messaging system in the kibbutz that there are terrorists in the kibbutz, which was of course an insane message to read. And we don't really have any means of protecting ourselves. So I was sitting with my 3 children in the safe room and I told them, listen, there are terrorists. You have to be quiet. No one can talk. And we spent the next 20 hours locked in that room, basically fighting for our lives and hiding. This is my WhatsApp with my elder brother who lives in Dorot. His name is Gal, and at 20 past 8, he writes to me, is Tal with you? Tal is my partner. And I wrote, I'm scared, Galu. He told me to put on something funny for the kids. Maybe they should watch SpongeBob and you'll be okay, he tells me. And I tell him, I'm scared. My heart is pounding. And he says, I know, sweetheart, you will be okay. And I was very scared at that point because I already heard terrorists outside my window. I live on it's a ground floor, and the back side of my house is on one of the main roads of the kibbutz, and it's really close to the part of the kibbutz they entered from. So I ran to the kitchen, and I brought, really quietly, I ran to the kitchen and I brought back some knives, and I take a picture of myself and I tell him I have a knife, which, considering everything in hindsight, is fairly ridiculous, but at that point it felt like a reasonable thing to do, and at least you know, to have some sort of way to defend myself and my children if it comes to that. And my brother tells me, breathe, keep your calm, for the children, put on a funny movie. I thought he does not know what he's talking about, because at that point the kibbutz was already on fire and people were already being murdered, and nobody could watch any sort of movie. So things escalated fairly quickly throughout the morning. Of course, the army didn't arrive, although we were pleading and in every way possible, talking to the media, talking directly with the army, and they just didn't come for a very long time. And during that time, the terrorists just conquered the kibbutz and went really door to door and house by house, and just murdered everyone. And that was unfolding in our WhatsApp groups, and people were begging for their lives and crying for help and recording their last words. And my neighbor had her father was murdered, and he lives 200 meters from us. And she knew he was shot, and she just couldn't do anything about it but just sit there and know that he's dying and nobody is coming. Not the army, no ambulances, no firefighters, nothing. We were just left there for hours on end. And my neighborhood is relatively in the center of the kibbutz, so it took them a while to arrive like a mass of terrorists. But at 12 o'clock, that's 6 hours into the event already, my neighbor, whose father was murdered, writes what is going on in the circle. The circle is the name of our neighborhood because it's built in a circle, and we have this really large, beautiful lawn, and all the children used to play together every afternoon. And one by one, the families are saying they are outside, shooting outside our safe room on the grass. Here also, they're also here. They are in the circle wearing uniforms. They are here, they're at our house, they're at our house. Every one of these messages is a different family who has terrorists in or outside their house. So, and they are outside my house also, trying to get in through the window of the safe room, and they are shooting hundreds of bullets at the window and at the wall, and I can hear them screaming, and I can hear like people being murdered. There's no other way to put that. I can hear the screams. I can hear houses on fire, and everything is collapsing around us. And at that point, I understand that I am going to die. And there is, that's it. There is nothing, there is no way I'm going to get out of this alive. And that was a moment. That was a moment. So, and these are still my neighbors. They are here. Send someone as soon as possible. They're trying to open the door of the safe room. They are burning the house. They're at our house trying to get in. Send forces to the circle as soon as possible. And we are just, nobody is there. We're just talking to ourselves. The army isn't there, and it won't be there until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is 12. So this is my neighbor's house on fire. I live right across the lawn, and the families inside stayed there for as long as they could, and eventually had to escape the house. And there are 2 families on the 2nd floor, so they jumped outside. They jumped out of the window to save their lives, and they did. Everybody escaped. And at 1:45, I'm still talking to my brother, and I send him a picture of myself because, as I said, I realized that I'm not going to get out of it alive. And I can hear them trying to break the wall from the outside with hammers and like a disc, and they are drilling at the wall, and I can hear rockets falling, and they're shooting at the window, and I don't understand how the window hasn't exploded yet. And I'm lying on the floor holding my 3-year-old who is shaking, and I just wrote a message to my brother because I lost contact with my sisters in the morning. I forgot to say that. At 10 o'clock in the morning, my sister sent me a message that there are terrorists in her house. Help. And since then, I haven't heard from her. And I was sure she was murdered with her 3 children. So I sent this to my brother. I told him I was crying because I'm so scared. And he said, of course, it's perfectly fine, as much as you need. And I said, Gallo, I love you so much. If anything happens to me, you are the best brother in the world. And he says, nothing is going to happen. So I say, I'm sorry for the things that happened in the past. I always loved you with all my heart. And he says, don't go there. And I told him I am there for a long time now. And he says, by tomorrow, you will be with us. And I told him, I'm going to die today. And he tried like to make a joke, because this be quiet thing he says to me, he says it was like with like a funny tone in his voice. He uses it a lot. And I said, that's it. That is what is going to happen. Had a good life, and I love you. And I turned off my phone and just sat there waiting for them to break into my safe room and murder me. Eventually, after 40 minutes, they just left. Just as they came, they just left, and everything became very, very, very quiet and very scary. And I just sat there shaking, and just couldn't believe I'm still alive. The army arrived at around 3:30 or maybe 4. Took them a long time to enter the kibbutz, and it took them almost 2 hours to enter the kibbutz. And by the time they came and started rescuing people, a lot of people just died because they lost too much blood, not because their injuries weren't something that could be easily treated if they were evacuated in time. And eventually we were rescued by the army at close to midnight after almost 20 hours in the safe room. We had no electricity for 6 hours in the evening. Of course, we had no food and no water and nothing, and nobody, brushed. We didn't brush our teeth or anything, and we were wearing our pajamas, and that's how we left our home. I just took like a toothbrush for myself and for the kids, and my son took his favorite alligator toy, and I carried my 3-year-old in my arms, and my older children were walking behind me, and the soldiers told them we had to walk. We had to walk. We had to leave our house and walk to the entrance to the kibbutz while we are still under fire. There are terrorists everywhere, still shooting at us, still rockets landing. There were dead bodies lying everywhere. Everywhere there were dead bodies. Everything was covered in blood. I was walking through puddles of blood. The air smelt absolutely disgusting from explosives, and the houses that were still in flames, and the sky had a strange like orange green color, and it was horrendous. And we walked. My children were terrified, of course, so I told my daughter. My daughter wasn't willing to leave the safe room, so I said, listen, sweetheart, you've been so brave up until now, and now we have to do this, and that's it. We just have to push through this, and you're not alone, and we're going to make it. We're going to make it. And then she said, but they can shoot me. And I said, they're not going to shoot you. If you hear anything, lie on the ground and crawl to the closest building, and everything will be okay. And that's how I had to walk with a 3-year-old in my arms, and my 12-year-old, and my 9-year-old, and my partner, and my dog, surrounded by 30 soldiers, weapons drawn, and we reached the gate after almost 15 minutes of walking through hell. To my horror, I have to say, there was so much going on outside the gate. Ambulances and tanks and like hundreds of soldiers, and I just stood there in complete shock because the kibbutz was practically empty. No one was willing to enter the kibbutz. So we were evacuated. I approached the officer at the gate, and I told him, listen, my sister, I think she was murdered this morning. She has 3 small children. Either you give me your weapon and I'm going to get her, because I was in the army for many years. I was an intelligence officer also. So I told him, either you give it to me and I'm going to get her, or you're going to take a team and get my sister out of there, because I need to know what's going on. And I think he realized that I actually mean that. And he said, don't worry, go to he gave me a map and asked me to draw a circle around her house, which I did. And then we walked to the junction outside the kibbutz, and there was a bus waiting for us. And you can still hear terrorists everywhere shooting, and it was really crazy. And we got on the bus, and happily enough, less than half an hour later, my sister arrives to the bus with her 3 children, looking like she died and came back to life. Her husband was shot at 7:20 in the morning, and it is a miracle that he's alive, because they threw hand grenades at him as well, and he just lied there bleeding until 6 o'clock in the evening, when the army arrived and took him to the hospital. where he stayed for 2 weeks, and now he's doing a lot better and he's here with us. So when we left, the soldiers said, take maybe something for a day or two until you can come back. And that sounded reasonable enough, that we will come back in a day or two, which a few days later turned into, well, it's going to take maybe a week to clear the kibbutz from all the terrorists. And after a week, it was like, well, okay, they did so much damage that you can't go home at all. And now we are refugees in a hotel in the Dead Sea. And we have 3 years of rebuilding the kibbutz until we can, I hope, safely go home. My art gallery, a few days after we were evacuated, to my horror, I was reading the newspaper, Haaretz newspaper, and then I saw this really horrible thing. They burnt the gallery to the ground. There is nothing left of it. And that was a real blow. 90 people died that day. They were murdered in Be'eri, from children to the elderly, and 26 were kidnapped. Now we have 6 of our people still in captivity as we are speaking. The Hamas still has them, and I would very much want them to come home. They are dearly missed, and our community is grieving for so many things. This was what the gallery looked like. It was a historic building, really beautifully preserved. It was the first dining room built in Kibbutz Be'eri. This picture of it from the inside was taken in 1956. And this is how it was built. Really, there was nothing there when we came. We really built a paradise with our bare hands, which the Hamas terrorists all but destroyed in one day. It's unbelievable. This was the gallery from the inside, and this was the last gallery talk we had with the director, Israeli director Dover Kosashvili, on the 23rd of September. And this is what is left now. Gallery-wise, we are reopening in Tel Aviv fairly soon. We raised a lot of money, and we have a lot of really ambitious, courageous, amazing partners and colleagues in the art world, and the gallery is being renovated as we speak, and I hope it will reopen in Tel Aviv for the 3 years that it will take to rebuild the kibbutz. And I hope we can go home and get on with our lives, whatever that means, from where I am standing now. That's it, I think. I finished my presentation, and if anyone wants to say something or ask something, feel free.
Well, you kind of anticipated answering one question that was asked about, whether you would ever feel safe enough to go back home.
That's really a difficult question to answer. I think I would really love to hope so. I think that the only way I could really feel safe, and it's an honest answer, is if the Gaza Strip would just not be there at all. There is no other way. I think I, as a mother, after I've been through hell, and it will take me a lifetime of therapy and healing to be able to live alongside what happened to us. I don't know how I can live seeing buildings so close to me and feel safe. But I don't know if there is a diplomatic way to settle this. If Hamas, you know, really is destroyed until the very last one of them, and there are no more rockets, because I'm not going back to that either. I have to say, the guilt I feel as a mother for putting my children through what I did, what I put them through by deciding to live there for so many years. How can I take them back there if I feel that my government, they just left us there? Really, they just left us there to be butchered. And it's not only that, we had 2 decades of neglect, because even before that, every now and then, you know, anytime a trigger-happy Hamas terrorist decided they just wanted to, they started shooting rockets at us, and then we had to leave our homes. And I'm not willing to live like that anymore. And I think my country, Israel, really has to work towards a sustainable solution of peace. There is no other way of moving forward. So that answered your question, and a bit more, I think.
How are your children doing?
I think as you can expect from children, they have friends who have been murdered. They have friends who have been kidnapped and who have now returned. They have good friends who lost their parents that day, and grandparents, and it's been a rough ride. We are, all of us, in various forms of therapy, of course, but it's been very heartbreaking to have to your children to sleep every night and to just hear them crying themselves to sleep. I'm sorry, it makes me very emotional. So, but I think we are doing fairly well, considering that.
Well, please know that a couple of the other comments in the Q&A are the participants are offering just support to you and your family and your all of the residents of the kibbutz. Okay.
Thank you. If we are allowed to bear arms, yes, we are allowed. We were always allowed because of where we lived. But I think we all believed in peace, and I don't think anybody wants to walk around. I mean, I didn't want to walk around carrying a gun. I did that for many years while I was in the army and in the reserve forces. And I didn't want to have a gun in my home with my kids. But that morning, not having a gun was unbelievable. And you can imagine that now all the mothers, every single one of us, just applied to get a license to hold a gun. So really, next time they come, the mothers are going to be waiting for them. Wow, I'm sorry, Janet. The Hatzroni family were my adoptive family. Avia was a very good friend of my parents, Avia and Eva. And we lived, when we were living in London, they were living there also, and we had a very close relationship. So their loss, what happened to them and Liel and Yanai, and I don't know what to say about that. I'm just so sorry everything happened. Joe asked if being a part of the kibbutz community is helpful. Well, on one hand, of course, it's very, you know, being part of something bigger than yourself and being held by a lot of people, and there is a lot of strength that you can find in being part of a community on one hand. On the other hand, it's a community that every other family, someone has been murdered, at least one, or kidnapped, and you know, we walk around as a community in such deep grief that it is really a lot to take on when you have that around you, isolated in a hotel in the Dead Sea day in, day out. It can feel like a lot of pressure, and that you don't really have the peace of mind or the space or the breathing room to heal or forget, because every other person you see, you have to face what happened to them.
There was another question concerning how the government has helped, or how the government right now is falling short. I didn't know if you wanted to address either of those questions.
What can I say about our government? I was protesting against it even before everything started. I think they are extremely extreme and very incapable, and they are they are to blame for what happened. They are responsible for what happened to us, and for every single death, and for the fact that we are for 54,000 people. 54,000 people are now refugees in our country, and we can't go home. We don't have homes to return to. That is an astronomical number, and the only solution of living in a hotel for 6 months is unacceptable. So I think they are absolutely failing in every possible aspect, including, I have to say, even like providing with mental health services, because I think 3 weeks after what happened, I received a phone call from the Ministry of Health asking me if I would like to have a 45-minute Zoom session with a psychologist. Well, at that point, I was already 3 weeks taking, Clonex to be able to sleep. I had severe anxiety attacks and I couldn't sleep. I had the worst nightmares. And what is that? That's absolutely nothing. Of course, the money coming in is barely enough for anything, and even knowing that we can't go back home, or it's going to take at least 6 months to rebuild like a new temporary kibbutz is going to take 6 months, but no one says to us, listen, take 6 months worth of your paycheck and go live wherever. No, they give you 2 weeks from now, and then in another 2 weeks they're going to give you 2 weeks more. So you can't really do anything other than sit here and wait. So yeah, I can go on with that forever.
Well, thank you so much for being willing to answer such direct questions. Okay,
I didn't do anything.
We
I'm not
greatly
ashamed
appreciate
of
it.
anything.
Yeah,
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I'm a civilian. I didn't do anything. I don't think I should be ashamed of anything. What confidence I have in the military to destroy Hamas? Well, of course we can. I mean, it's not a question of ability. The IDF has the ability when it comes to our just force, but of course it's a lot more complicated than that. And if the world will allow Israel to do what needs to be done in order to accomplish that, that is a completely different question. And I think if I listen to like what's going on in the world, then I think sadly the answer is no. And that's very sad, because what happened here is going to happen elsewhere. It's just a matter of time, in my opinion. When they want to cease fire, look, I didn't turn into a monster just because, the images, the pictures that are coming out from Gaza are extremely heartbreaking for me also. I can't stand thinking about the crazy violence made by men. We have to say that also. It's men who are being very violent, and then you see women and children displaced, living in these plastic tents with you know, rain flooding the floor and children sleeping beneath plastic bags. That's horrendous. But I don't think Israel is to blame for that happening. I mean, if Hamas would lay down their weapons, then there would be peace. But if Israel can't lay down our weapons, if we do that, they will just kill us. I mean, they do their best to do that even when we're not, when we're trying to defend ourselves. So that's my thoughts on that. I wish we could get through this without not one civilian being harmed, if that was a possibility. But I also understand that there is, at some points in our history, in human history, there is a need to use violence. So there will be long-lasting peace, and I think we just reached that point. It happened during World War I and with the US and Japan, and we've seen that throughout history, that sometimes you really need to use a lot of violence. עדי השכנה שלי, ממש מעבר לדשא. עדי is my neighbor. Someone is writing, neighbor and a friend. She lives right in front of me. Anything else?
I just wanted to jump in real quick, and you know, I want to thank Matan Zamir for being here also this morning. He's the Israel Deputy Counsel General to the Pacific Northwest. So you know, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you, Rabbi Cohen, and thank you, Sofie, for sharing so openly and candidly everything you've been through.
Thank you, Matan.
We have people asking how if they want to support the kibbutz directly, Sofie, if there's a way for them to do that.
We have what, like financially? Are we speaking financial support, or what type of support?
I'm not
Because
sure.
if we're talking about,
go ahead, please.
sorry.
You go ahead.
Yeah, we have various platforms for fundraising. There is a link that I can pass on, just really a link or just a bank account that can be used. I can send it over. I'll have to look for it, but I can send it over later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're good now.
Well, there another question you know, was asked that many in the West are demanding a ceasefire, though not the American Jewish community by and large. So, I mean, what are your thoughts when you hear all these calls, mainly from the non-Jewish community, for a ceasefire to be put in place?
Yeah, so I think I kind of answered that. But how does it make me feel? I think it's very short-sighted, and I think the world, people maybe like to think of the world as made out of good and bad, and things that there are completely good and things that are completely bad, and like categorize reality that way. But that is not the way things are. You know, when it comes to civilians, then not only Hamas terrorists were there that day, there were hundreds of citizens. There were 6-year-old children in our kibbutz, 6-year-old children, and elderly people, and just, you know, people who came to help, you know, the terrorists, and they were murdering people. and they were stealing things from their homes. So just even, and I have to say that I voted left wing my whole life, and I think those are still my views. I would like to think of the world, that the world can become my views, but I really had to face the fact that this idea that there is the bad Hamas on one level, and then the good citizens on another level, that is not the reality of things in Gaza, and how to differentiate and like, how can you know if someone is good or bad, you know? And what does it even mean, a ceasefire? And then what? And then what? What? We can't go home like that as long as Hamas is still standing. So, you know, people can talk a lot. When they are sitting in the comfort of their own home, they can have a lot of ideas about things and think they are very educated and that they know, you know, they studied stuff in university, and you have to really ask from where they got their knowledge. But we know, the people who went through that day, we know that Hamas has to be gone from the history of humankind, because if not, everybody's future is going to look like what happened to us. Everybody. So they can say what they want. I hope Israel has the strength and courage and moral responsibility towards its citizens to do what has to be done and get rid of them, whatever the costs. Thank you for that.
Well, I mean, I want to thank you for taking the time to, you know, relive just a you know, horrific memories and sharing what you and your family went through. You've given us just a taste of what is going on over there, and you've given us all the more reason, you know, to offer our support, both emotional but financial and political, and, you know, to do everything we can to keep you strong and to maintain that the connection between the Israeli community and the American diaspora community is very strong and secure. Okay.
Thank you, Barry.
And yeah, I hope you can see in the chat, you know, a reminder to sign up for future webinars. You know, you can just click, you know, as we continue to offer connections between us and the land of Israel. Okay.
Thank you for your support, and I know we will get through this. There is really no other way. For the Jewish people, we've been doing this since forever, and I know we will get through this one also. And I hope everyone takes care, and thank you for joining.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.